stand by. This is Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel for SMEs, business owners, and entrepreneurs. Streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The live show is made possible by our sponsor, Restream, the easy way to stream to multiple social platforms at the same time. Restream Studio makes it simple to go live directly from your browser. Get started now at businessconnectionslive.com/Restream. And now, here's Steve Hyland. Well, hello there. Welcome along. It is Business Connections Live, and it's Steve Hyland with you here. The first time in 2021 that we've actually got one of our live programs. Been very busy over the last couple of months, and it's just lovely to be back doing the program all over again. Still from our smaller studio. Strange enough, over the last couple of weeks, I've been in the main studio in West London. We've been putting some new equipment in there, and it's been a really interesting time. So looking forward to getting back to the big studio in the near future. But for the moment, it's all about information, isn't it? It's all about information online. You want to know what's going on, and you want to have a bit of an argument, bit of a fight. Then what we've got is the very guy for you right now. My guest on today's show is Antonio Falco. How are you, Antonio?
Hello,
it's good to have you.
Hello, Steve. And Steve, I just heard you say that this is your first program for the new year, and there hasn't been one for quite a long time, if I'm correct in my thinking. So does that mean that I'm kind of your interview fodder to get you ready for the real professional guests that are coming up in the future?
Yeah, we're just. I'm just using you to check the equipment out. Quite frankly,
exactly.
That's all it is.
Happy to help a friend, Steve, as you know. So can I start off by saying, lovely to see you, and just hello to any of my friends and business contacts that might be watching, because I haven't seen them for a blinking year either. So hello, everybody.
I think what's interesting about all of this is the lockdown haircuts that we've both got. I mean, mine's just going raving mad at the moment. These bits at the side, I'll just take the glasses off for a sec, but these bits at the side are getting really, really long. I mean, I could do something with a pair of scissors for those, couldn't I, quite frankly?
Steve, I've used half a pot of brew cream just to keep this down this morning.
Let me ask you, Antonio, because I put a whole number of different things up that we were going to talk about. Our business is ready to come out of lockdown. The news is quite good at the moment. Let me ask, have you had your vaccine yet?
No, I've not had a call up yet. I think yesterday Hancock said that he was hoping that 15th of April onwards is when my age range was going to be available.
Because you're really young, really, aren't you? Yeah. Well, I had mine. I was invited. When was I? I was invited 2 weeks ago to go and have my vaccine done. Unfortunately, due to another injection that I just had, I had to wait 2 weeks, which was very, very frustrating. But all done. Really impressed. I had the Pfizer one, which is really good.
Okay.
The AstraZeneca one is great, but the Pfizer one is really good.
Negotiated the company, Steve.
if only that were true. Now, it was interesting. I was talking to you last week when I said, "Look, do you fancy just doing a quick chat?" And you're quite. I know you're going to hate me for doing this, but you're quite sceptical about the amount of information that's been received. The mere fact that the government are doing this so smoothly at the moment does go to show you that they actually do know where we all are and what we're all doing all of the time, nearly, because the rollout of the vaccines has been absolutely phenomenally smoothly handled. And the amount of data that is being processed, the number of people who are turning up, I mean, they've really got this well and truly handled. But it does show you that they know a lot about you, don't they?
As per our discussion last week, I think Linda was involved as well. Yes, clearly they do. So much for a free and open society.
Is that what you were going to say? I mean, we had quite a long conversation last week.
We did, Steve. I'm sorry. I'm being flippant. The trouble is the only thing that I have, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Let me just make this clear. I've been vaccinated for myself, so have my children for other in the past. I just question the efficacy of this particular vaccine on the basis that it's been done so quickly. Having said that, though, I've talked to a couple of very good friends of mine who are in healthcare professionals, and I spoke to one last week at some depth, and she said all my patients are asking me about, is this vaccine what it's meant to be? Is it going to work? Has it been tested? And she said, as a result of so many of my patients asking me about it, I've read everything I possibly can about the whole inception of the vaccine, how it's kicked off, who's been working on it, how they've tested it, why they've been able to do it so quickly. And I've known her most of her life. If there was something untoward, she would have told me. But she's reassured me that it's actually been really well put together, tested, and there's always going to be anomalies with any vaccine. There's always going to be some people that have an adverse reaction, but that happens on everything. But she said, I've read a huge amount of data, and she's also done it from the skeptic's perspective. So she's deliberately tried to, or looked at it from a skeptical angle in terms of trying to look for the holes in the veracity of the whole vaccine, the way that it's produced, tested, etc., etc. So she's read quite a number of papers from that perspective. She's read a number of papers from a variety of different scientists who understand why people are skeptical. They understand their arguments and have explained why they may have come to those conclusions and what the reality is, again, from their perspective. So I trust that, I trust her implicitly. So,
Well, that's good. It was interesting because we were talking when we talked about it last week. You were saying that it's gone through very quickly. Of course, what we saw here was nearly something that happened during the World Wars, where technology advanced very, very quickly because of the necessary needs of the people or the circumstances that they found themselves in. I do wonder if some of these people who are skeptical about the vaccine. I mean, I went through cancer in 2012, so I had bowel cancer. And the treatment for that, apart from the operation, which is a real hoot where they take 18 inches of bowel away with too much detail, the chemotherapy, though, afterwards, if someone was to say to you, look, we're going to give you a drug, and what the drug is going to do is going to make your hair drop out, it's going to make you constipated, you're going to feel awful, it's going to fry your nerve endings, you would go, I really don't want that. Yet when I had it, I had 8 particular doses all assigned to me, so 8 sessions over a period of 6 months. And on the 8th one, when I got there to have it, they turned around to me and they said, if we give you this, it's going to make you too ill. We'd have to take you in the hospital. It's just not going to help. I felt cheated. I felt dreadful, but I felt cheated that I didn't have the full. And here's something that is coming along. I mean, all these idiots that are saying that they can track you and everything with it and all the rest of it, they need to just grow up. And the ones that are going on about 5G, get a life.
Yeah, just Steve, can I say one thing? Yes, that's fine. But what we should have done, and what they should do, is actually put publicly on air on your favourite station, the BBC. They should have these arguments on both. They should have both sides of the argument properly put to people. Instead, what they're doing is they're trying to curtail any naysayers, and I'm not saying they're right, by the way. And all that does is it makes people suspicious, and that's not the way to handle anything. It's like in sales. The point of sales is to understand what the customer's problem is and show them if you've got a real solution to it. And as I keep saying to people, the skill of sales is to understand that the ultimate 2 answers a potential customer can give you is yes or no, and each of those have equal value. So my point back to is just put both sides of the conversation, and let people at least understand that you're not attempting to, hide one side of the argument. And it's just proper intelligent management of a story. You just put both sides to it. I don't know.
I think it's interesting when you look at the research that's been done into the BBC and the way it has been reported. People take from messages what they want to receive, don't they? And You know, they'll take a view. You know, some people say that the BBC is biased left. Some people say it's biased to the right. Some people say it's right down the middle. I suppose it's where you start. It's where your standing is that can sometimes confuse the whole issue, and how we perceive things as well. You know, we all perceive things in a completely different way. I think it's for the good, and I'm very pleased to have had the vaccine. Listen, there's a chance.
When did you have your next shot, by the way?
They don't. Well, they didn't tell me that. I mean, I've got the card here actually, and there is a place on the card that tells you when your next shot's going to be. Hold on a second. I'll just get in there. I've got it in the back of my phone.
Public information service. There you go.
Yeah, public. This is what you get. You get this card here, and there is a place just on the bottom of it that says where the. Actually, I get it in focus. There is a place just on the bottom here where they give you your next dose, but they actually contact you via a text message. And I know my other half is waiting desperately for hers, because I think it's going to open up, once we start to get all of this, it's going to open up so many different things, I think, for families as well. There must be so many. I saw a piece on the TV the other night that was talking about, you know, just holding somebody, holding them by the hand, you know, seeing your grandchildren, seeing your family. I mean, my daughter works in the television industry, and within where she works, they've had outbreaks of COVID. So she steers clear of us because she is worried about giving it to us.
And anyway, on that point about opening up, there's a little bit of a few leaks here and there around on the internet about what the program that he being the Prime Minister, is going to elaborate on.
Do you think he's done a reasonable job, Antonio, or do you think he's been between a rock and a hard place?
Funny, I was having this argument with my wife last night, actually, in that her point was that you know, it's been unprecedented in times, never happened before. You know, you've got to give him a break. I mean, the Matt Hancock answer yesterday on why it was okay for him to just give out contracts here, there, and everywhere. Some happen to be to friends. You know, he was caught out on that. Apparently, it's unlawful. What he's done. His answer was, "Well, I did it for the greater good, and you know, and what would you rather I'd done? Not bought the PPE." Well, okay. So if we're going to start justifying how to break the law, great. Next time I get stopped by a policeman. So yes, it's been unprecedented times, but as I said to somebody the other day, we have politicians to run the country and to make difficult decisions and to come up with the solutions and answers to difficult problems. And if you can't do that, leave.
The trouble is, don't you think, though, that when it comes to the politicians that we've got, we get what we pay for, don't we? Buy cheap, buy twice. It's not the best paid job in the whole world, is it? I mean, many CEOs of large multinationals are on millions of pounds as packages, but the Prime Minister's not on that.
Right, but let's just look at that for a second, Steve, okay? Because, you know, if you look at politicians, for a start, I don't know about you, but I've never seen such a set of poor, collectively, there are some very good people, but such a poor calibre of set of MPs that I can't remember the last time it was this bad. I mean, so many of them stand up in Parliament and they can barely string a sentence together. They can barely put a coherent thought together. And, you know, consequently, you're absolutely right. We get what we pay for. But if you're going in it for the money, you're going in it for the wrong reason.
But isn't that what democracy is all about? We meet these people. Sorry? We meet them on our doorsteps. They come knocking on our doors looking for the votes. They stand up there and they're all public speakers, aren't they? They stand up and they do their presentations and to try to convince us that we should vote for them. They must be thinking that, you know, that they want to do some good somewhere. But you're probably right. They're not particularly good.
Well, exactly. So the caliber. Don't forget, we only get presented with the ones that get through their party system. And sometimes you have to ask, how do these people get through their party system? I don't think it's as clear-cut and straightforward as we might all think it is. I think there's shenanigans in the background as to how certain people get put through the system to be able to be an MP and then get put in very nice seats that they're going to win, however incompetent they are. And you know that as well. You've been around long enough,
very
Steve.
dare you. Don't you
Sorry?
bring me into this conspiracy theory.
Well, there's no conspiracy. You can see it. It's blatantly obvious. I mean, you look at some MPs and think, how on earth did you ever get selected by your party, let alone get voted in? So you've got to just... So go back to my central point. Yes, it's been a difficult year, but we are a year into it now. And you just kind of wonder, is there any confidence? Is there any strategy? How long do you need to be able to actually sit down and put together a coherent strategy that's going to work, instead of the cockamamie stuff we've seen over the past year? Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Social distance, don't social distance. Go out to restaurants, pay to whatever that scheme was. Oh, by the way, sorry, we've got to close all the pubs and restaurants. Hang on a second, you told me to go there just last week.
But you make it sound like it's a unique British feature that we have. I was reading this morning that Sweden have been completely inept at this. They haven't gone into lockdown. They've resisted going into lockdown, and they're in a terrible mess now. Looking at Germany, the misinformation that's going on in Germany, where people will not now, they will refuse the AstraZeneca jab. I mean, it's been, it isn't just, we do not have a uniqueness on badly handling the situation. This is worldwide, isn't it?
Sure. Okay, but we have control within our own borders about how we do things. Okay, we don't have to follow somebody else's pattern. And you say about what's happening in other countries. So look what's happening in Florida and California. California, total lockdown, done everything that the Americans probably didn't like. Horrendous stats. Florida, open. No worse off than California. The thing that Florida did, and I was listening to the governor of Florida in an interview just last week, the thing that they made sure they did was that all the vulnerable people in nursing homes were very well looked after. And if they showed any signs of COVID, they were taken out of that environment, put securely and safely somewhere and looked after until they were well again. Other than that, Florida's been open. And they've had no worse statistics than California, who's done completely the opposite. So what is the answer? I don't know. But you know what? I don't care what's happening in other countries. I care about what's happening here. I care about you and your family, my friends, how they're managing the situation here. And I'm sorry, but I think they've been inept. And a year later, it's still... are you confident a year later about how they're running the show? Because I'm not.
I mean, it is a bit of a worry, isn't it? And you do look at...
I'm just asking you to see what's happening around you.
Pardon?
I'm just asking you to see what's happening around you.
Yeah.
This time last year, fine.
The trouble, I mean, I think at a local level, I think it's been quite well organised. But I think on a national level, I think it's a very difficult job. It's not a job that I would have wanted. And I think we've got, we're still seeing party politics being played out as well. People are trying to score points on circumstances that honestly are not point scorable, because everybody is trying to score points on hindsight, and I think that's a dangerous game to be playing. It's interesting to see what's happening with Starmer at the moment. He's I don't think he's coming over as particularly strong either, or insightful for that matter. So it's an interesting place that we find ourselves in, I think, at the moment. What about business? Sure. Go on. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say about business? Go on.
Yeah, with just a couple of those points. Yes, I think there is a bit too much political in-game scoring, forgetting that actually there's 67 million people relying on the fact that these people are making a set of decisions that are protecting us. And you're absolutely right that happens a lot. And if you look at Westminster, there's 3,500 people that work there. It's a village on its own, and it's all a game. It's the points that I can score over you, and within that they get lost. I think they get lost in the malaise of it all, forgetting that they're there to run a country. And so you talk about the caliber of politicians. What happens though, Steve, is that they get to the point where they've been in politics, for several years, and if they'd lost their seat, where would they get a job? Who'd hire them? So they therefore have to toe whatever party line, say whatever they need to say, in order to try and keep their job. And therefore you don't get, there's too many people in politics that that have got nowhere else to go. There's too many people in politics that have got into it as a career. There's too many people in politics who have gone in there without any life experience, and don't really understand what ordinary working people's lives are about, because they haven't had one themselves. They don't understand the day-to-day stuff of going to the supermarket, buying stuff. Most of them just don't get it. And you talk about the pay. They're on 85,000 a year. The average salary is 26,000. How much more would you like to give them?
Yeah, but you're not attracting the caliber of people that the people that you deal with when you're going into an organization, into a business, the CEOs that you're dealing with, many of those will have packages that are in the millions. I mean, many of the CEOs that I've dealt with in the past are very wealthy people, because within industry can afford that. And what industry is looking for innovative, smart, bright individuals to deliver the goods, because if they don't deliver the goods, then thousands of jobs could be lost, and thousands of pounds worth, millions of pounds worth of profit could be gone as well. So it's a different kind.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a different kind of person. That's why I'm thinking. I mean, some of the CEOs that I know, I think would make fantastic politicians, because when you see them talking to their teams, to their staff, then you realise just how good they really are, and how bad many of our politicians are.
But the system would stifle them. The whole civil service system would stifle them, because they're used to getting things, making decisions, getting things in motion, and getting things done. It doesn't work like that in government. It just doesn't.
Listen, let's talk a bit about business, shall we?
Yeah.
Because you're talking to businesses. Your business has been hit. Our business has been hit as well. Our production bit. We've done no media training for over a year now. So that's a big issue. Due to lockdown, the studio it's been very difficult for anyone to use a studio. There's been one or two very, very small shoots there, but nothing of any significance really. And that's all because of lockdown as well. So what are you seeing? What's the general consensus of opinion from the business leaders and owners that you're coming across? Are they ready for this? Do they see a resurgence? Are they excited about coming out of lockdown? Do they see a bright future? Pound doing incredibly well against the dollar and the euro at the moment. The city maybe is in a bit of turmoil, a little bit worried with the Dutch and America sort of taking the edge on that. But what's the general consensus of opinion and feelings do you get from your clients?
That they want to get on with things. That they just want to get on with things. It's as simple as that. They want to see us try and get back to some sort of normality as quickly as possible, because a lot of industries, as you've got, have been hit. A lot of manufacturing companies have been hit hard. I've got a couple of clients who supply products. They manufacture products that go into the construction industry, and of course, for the first few months, most of 2020, a lot of them lost half their business, which meant either making people redundant. They were on furlough first, and then making them redundant. Having to still cope with costs for buildings and vehicles and goodness knows what, which haven't gone away. So no, they are keen to get back to working. It's as simple as that.
And what advice do you give them, Antonio, when it comes to being prepared and getting ready? What's the key advice that you would give some of these companies at the moment? Is it just be ready for the uplift when it comes, or is it here's stuff you can do right now? Are there the opportunities to go out and to market? I mean, the internet is awash with people telling you how you can increase sales at the moment. I mean, is that all baloney as well?
Well, I won't say it's all baloney. It's a bit too contradictory, but no, I'm saying to people, let's make sure we are ready, but we can do an awful lot of work beforehand. So yes, there's a lot of marketing we can do beforehand. There are sales that we can still talk to customers. I've got some clients who, they traditionally go and see people. But you know what? Let's have a Zoom meeting. Let's call them. I'm saying to people, let's keep the activity going, even though some of that activity, or a big chunk of that activity, is coming to very little, because my belief is this, that when you're not busy, you do an awful lot of activity, and when you are busy, you do a bit less because you're servicing clients, but you still do some activity. So never stop doing the new business development activity, which is researching the type of client you're looking for, trying to make some sort of contact with them. And yes, we're doing it on phone, email, and occasionally some sort of brochure attachment. So yes, keep doing the activity. Just because you may not be able to go and sit down with somebody, that doesn't mean that you can't start the process of recognizing who your client might be, then getting to know you, then them seeing some material from you, then looking at your website, then receiving something from you, and just having a set of touch points where they're just getting to know you and you're building a relationship. Never stop doing that.
And it is still down to building relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting. I was just looking at your website, because it's had a revamp since you were last on the program, last year, in fact, and really quite interesting what you're doing with it now. This is the bit that I love here. The 6 strategies essential to all business success. How important do you think they are? Or, I mean, is it just nice to have a process, or the people, the product, the process, the numbers, the sales, the management? Do they all have equal weight, do you think, in the development and the growth of a business?
Well, I think it does, which is why I identified them. But none of that, Steve, I'm not going to try and be clever here in front of your audience or you. We've known each other long enough. There's nothing new under the sun there. Anything I put there is our basic stuff that most businesses are probably doing. They may not be doing them as well as they can do, but are probably doing. Some businesses are doing some of those things. I'm just saying that these are some of the foundations of what you need to be doing as a business. And I've just, over the years, I've been at this over 20 years now. So I was in corporate sales beforehand. I've been working with companies now for over 22 years now. Primarily small businesses, had a number of corporate clients in between, but primarily small businesses who don't understand any of this stuff. And all I'm saying there is this is a culmination of a number of years of what I've seen and what I've done.
If there was one thing then out of those 6 strategies, which do you think would be the most important of all of them? So the people, the product, the process, the numbers, the sales, the management. Is it the last 2 are the ones that are the real game changers, do you think?
Well, I think people is key. That most companies struggle with getting the right caliber of person. It's very difficult. Recruitment's very, very difficult to find the right sort of person. And what is the right sort of person? Yes, it's the person who's got the right skill level that you require, whether it's, say, an engineering degree or whatever it may be that you're looking for. Secondly, it's the experience that goes along with that. Have they got enough experience of your environment and your type of client base? And thirdly, do they actually fit? And this is the biggest thing, by the way. Do they actually fit the environment of your business? They might be a fantastic person. They might be amiable. They might be well qualified, well experienced. But if it doesn't feel right when they're sitting in front of you and they're walking around your business, meeting people, and it just isn't gelling, that's not going to work either. I'd rather have the right person who fits in the business, who's part of the way there in terms of experience and understanding and knowledge and qualification, because I can train that bit, but I can't train the personality. I can't train the fit within my team. So recruitment is very difficult because you're trying to find the person that fits within your organization, as well as being qualified, experienced, etc., etc. So the base of your business is people, and that includes you, by the way. If you're the first person in your company, you've got to make sure you've got the right work disciplines, mental toughness to be in business, because you need a lot of mental toughness, because you are going to get slings and arrows coming at you. And you have to have the right type of mindset, which you've heard about a million speakers talk about mindset. So mental toughness, personality, and mindset to run your own business. You're the first person, because you will set the tone for your business. So the next person that joins your business, you're the one that set the tone for it, in the way that you operate, the processes that you use, the way that you look, the way that you dress, the way that you come across, the way you treat people. You are setting all that up. That's why running your own business is a fantastic opportunity for anybody to try, because you, for once, get to say, this is how we do things around here. And you've heard me say it before, Steve, that all the leadership books in the world, yeah, read whatever you can. It's important to read. But fundamentally, for me, leadership comes down to this: explaining to people that this is the way we do things around here. You've got to tell them that story. So you're the first important person.
But is it also about taking decisions? This is the way that we do things, and you do as I say, not as I do. Is it one of those kind of no?
No, you've got to, the whole point of hiring people is you've got to hire people that are better than you. Otherwise, you might as well just do it yourself. Okay, so you hire people better than you. So when you hire those people, you also want to listen and give them the opportunity to have input into your business. If you've hired correctly, then you want those sort of people. You want people that are going to give you some innovation, some different thinking, a different angle of doing something. So so when I say this is how we do things around here, this is the story of this business. This is how we operate. That doesn't mean we can't get better at it. It doesn't mean we can't improve. But in terms of, when you first start with the company, people need to know where they're at. They need to know where they're at, and they need to know what's expected from them. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think we'll ever get back to where we were previously? Do you think that there's a chance of that at all? That business will be the same as it was, that life will be the same as it was? Do you think that norm will ever return? Or do you think this has been an opportunity for some organizations to get rid of the dead wood?
Well, for sure, I think that's happened by default anyway, just because there comes a point where, I guess, financially, a lot of companies just haven't had the opportunity or the ability, rather, to keep financing certain elements of their business, one of them being staff. So, that's I think that will continue to happen. I mean, goodness knows what's going to happen when the furlough scheme ends. I think you're going to see, they keep talking about potentially an awful lot of people losing their jobs. That might well be the case. I hate to preempt these things because nobody knows until it really happens. But logically, that would seem to be a reasonable conclusion. And deadwood, I do hate that expression because what, everybody has some value. Everybody has a value in life. Everybody has a value in an organisation. So looking at one of my 6 strategies, if you want to, that management is about trying to bring out the best in people wherever they are at the time, and it's a two-way street, by the way. You as an employee, a part of the company, you have to deliver your best, and the company has to make sure you've got the tools and the capability, the surroundings that you need, and the training that you need to be able to deliver your best. So everybody has value. You just need to figure out what that and when I say value, has value in that they can contribute something. So let's not just do away with people because we want to be callous about it. I don't believe being callous. I believe in giving people an opportunity, and that's how it needs to be. But going back to where we were before, Steve, I think it would be an awful long time. But I think the reality is probably not. I think we've talked before about the fact that where is the logic now of having a £10 million office block in the middle of central London when you've got 250 people working from home successfully?
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It does make you wonder.
I think though that there are an awful lot of people, I even include myself, that have to be around people. So I think what will possibly happen, I've said this before, I think we said last year, that what will happen is that you will still go into the office, but you probably only go twice a week instead of 5 times a week. And if a company's smart, what they'll do is they'll have a rotation every 3 months. For the next 3 months, you're coming on Monday and Wednesday. 3 months later, you're coming on a Tuesday and Thursday. You just meet different people, different parts of your team. Occasionally, you have a complete get together where everybody's at some venue together. So I think that's how it will change. But who
I think
knows?
we've got to wait and see.
I don't,
You paint a dark picture concerning furlough, and one of the topics we were going to say is who's going to pay for all this. And of course, there's always this thing that, well, big business is going to pay for this because we're going to put up the taxes on the businesses, and they're the ones that are going to pay long term. I mean, the small businesses can't afford it, quite frankly. They've been hit as hard as everybody else is. They've still had outgo. I mean, we've still had outgoings as a small business. I mean, we've still had to pay the rent
of
for the
course.
facilities and things like that. It's been a horrendous time, and it's ultimately who is going to pay? Is it going to be payment in jobs? Is it going to be payment in taxes? It does make me wonder how we're going to finance this, or is it going to be because it's on a global scale? Maybe it's a debt that will be written off worldwide. He lives in cuckoo
Well,
land, don't I?
there's an idea, Steve, and who knows? But who's going to pay? For sure, the Chancellor can't land the bill on small businesses because small businesses, as I keep saying, and I've said this 1,000 times to you before, Steve, and in a variety of different environments, small businesses aren't just important to the local community because they provide jobs. They're important because they're part of the fabric of the local community. They're the small businesses are the ones that sponsor the local 10-year-old football team. Small businesses are the ones that sponsor the local charity. Small businesses are the ones that come out and they're the ones that are sponsoring the local fair. They're part of the fabric of society, and so landing the bill on them, which, as you just said and I said a few minutes ago, companies, whilst they've had the opportunity of making people putting people on furlough, and whilst some of them have lost people even though that furlough scheme was available, they've, as you've just said, still had to pay for all the bills that are ongoing. The gas, electricity, the rates, the etc., as you have done. So they've already, in my opinion, paid the price. But of course, taxation, there's no going to be escaping it. But I think the Chancellor now has to think intelligently about how on earth, we make some of the bigger companies, and I use that word deliberately, make them pay their way, because they can't have a part of our society and then not pay part of their way. That ain't the
I
way
think
it's
some
going
of
to
the
work
tech
anymore.
companies need to pay their way, and
Yeah,
until you're a business owner, you don't realise the impact of things like corporation tax. You're taxed on everything. You're taxed on your salary, and then as a business owner, your business is taxed on its profits, and corporation tax can sometimes be a huge bill. I mean, it can
I
be
know.
an absolute killer, and of course they want their pound of flesh, don't they? I
Yeah.
mean,
So, Steve,
even
I'm calling now. So, on your program, I'm calling now for the government to make sure that around the cabinet table there is a new position, a new minister whose sole responsibility, sole representation is for small businesses. I want a small business minister sitting around the cabinet table. It's about time we had the proper representation properly around the table. So whilst we've got a business minister, head of biz, whatever her title is, we need a small business minister who's interested and representing the needs of small businesses, who understands the little day-to-day problems that they have, who understands the shortcomings and the issues in terms of hiring the right people, still paying the lecky bill when they're closed. That's what we need. We need a small business minister, and that's what I'm asking the government now to put in place. In the States, they have exactly that. They have a small business. I can't remember what it's called now. I'll remember it in a second. But they have exactly that. We should have it in this country too now, because most small businesses not only just contribute to the economy in the way that I've described. They hire millions of people, and they pay, as you just said, an awful lot of corporation tax. Well, you know what? It's about time we had our voice at the table.
do you think the large multinationals or the big institutions aren't paying enough? I mean, Amazon have done an absolute blinder in over the last 12 months in all the lockdowns. Do you think this whole thing about having your headquarters offshore, maybe in Dublin or somewhere like that, so that you can benefit from the taxes in a different country from the country that you're operating in, is something that will go on long term?
Yes, in short, but in the short term, I think it's interesting because last year, I think middle of last year, I heard a report that Jeff Bezos at the time, obviously stood down, made a comment to the press that Amazon weren't making a lot of money. There wasn't going to be much corporation tax to be paid. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. I've never seen so many Amazon Prime trucks driving around. I don't know about you, Steve, but
No, you're right. They should be doing the vaccinations, shouldn't they? Everybody would be done in 2 days.
Exactly. And again, they've been fortunate enough to operate, to keep going. They've been allowed to drive around dropping stuff off. They've been allowed to have their warehouses open and take in goods from their third-party suppliers, repackage them and get them out. They've been allowed to operate as normal. Fine, that's fantastic, that's great. But now you have to pay. Now you have to pay. Do you remember the phrase in when David Cameron was Prime Minister, we're all in it together?
Yep.
Do you remember that as soon as they came out with that phrase, they dropped it like a hot potato because they soon realised that we weren't in it all together. Well, you know what, Steve? We're in it all together now. We're all in the same boat. They want their staff to be safe and vaccinated and turning up for work. But you know what? You now have to pay too. And I don't see why there should be any escaping from it. I've just paid my corporation tax. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll stop operating then. I'll stop. And I'll go on the dole. Of course I won't. But, we have to have a system where there has to be some recognition from corporations that say, you know what, we're taking advantages of the road system. We're taking advantage of the electrical system. We're taking advantage of the ability to build sheds in the middle of nowhere and paying tiny amounts of what's the building tax of tax on top of that. So there comes a point where we kind of just we've got to jump in with society full 100% and be our part. I think people are just fed up with it otherwise. There's a woman fined the other day in Kent for opening her little shop. I think she sold somebody a T-shirt, got fined £1,000. Well, okay, maybe she shouldn't have done that. She should have stuck with the rules. But why is it okay for me to go and buy that same T-shirt from Amazon?
Mm. And the same applies maybe perhaps to the supermarkets as well. If you go to, we've got a Tesco superstore not far from where I am now. You can go in there and you can buy everything.
And Steve, isn't it interesting? The staff that are working at Tesco are now deemed as key workers, which means that their children can go to school. So, Mr. Tesco and Sainsbury's and the rest of you, okay, you've had the full advantages and benefits that have allowed you to keep your business open. And I know they're providing food, so they obviously had to stay open. I understand that. But they've nevertheless been able to operate reasonably unhindered. You've got to pay your way. Otherwise, what's this about? Small businesses go by the wayside and big businesses continue doing well? Really?
No.
Because you know what? On the on what's the forum? What's the big international forum that happens in Davos every year? But
I know the one you mean. Can't think of its name.
Yeah, I mean they've got on their website the big reset. What on earth's that about?
Yeah.
The opportunity to reset the economy and what you mean? Big businesses can do what they like and small businesses go by the wayside. Is that what the big reset's about? Because I tell you now, if you want cynicism, that's my cynicism, which is why I'm saying we now need the government to say we now have a small business minister. Because if they think they're going to lose us, I think that's going to cause ructions in society moving forward.
We're in the last 10 minutes. So just checking on the time. Brexit. No one talks about Brexit anymore, and we don't even talk about the problems of Brexit. or the issues at our borders. What's your general feeling about Brexit at the moment?
Well, has it gone as badly as we thought it was going to go? So we've got the shellfish situation, where British shellfish, all of a sudden, it was okay yesterday, but today, so one day it's fine to be shipped over to the continent, and the following day it wasn't. All right, okay. So what's changed, and who actually pays for that? Well, something you said earlier on, Steve, about politicians. You know, the situation with the shellfish being stopped from being imported into Europe, who's really paying the price for that? I'll tell you who's paying the price for it. People who used to buy that shellfish, who now don't. And if they do want to go and buy it, they're now probably paying higher prices for it because there's less of it. But you can be well assured that the politicians aren't paying for it. Don't worry, when Macron's going to his restaurant this evening, or ordering in, he'll still be ordering his oysters and his langoustine that's coming from Scotland. Don't worry, but he'll be, because he can afford to pay for it. It's always normal. It's always the plebs like us that are paying for some of these decisions.
It was just the thought then of President Macron on Deliveroo kind of tickled me just for about, what should we have tonight then? Langoustine, please. Thank you very much. Very interesting, but you're right, and it is the politicians that pay for it. I think that they have got it. They did get it. They got it very wrong. But I think a lot of companies have also got themselves to blame. There was a lot of training. There was a lot of money out there, and we knew it was coming. And people saw the train at the end of the tunnel. They knew what the light was. They knew it was a train coming the other direction. The government was saying, "Look, here's some money for you to get out of the way of the train coming in the other direction. To be ready, to be prepared." And a lot of businesses just sat back on their laurels and they went, "I'll wait and see what happens."
And what did we say in the last program? The last program I was on, Steve, was when? Was it September last year? Was with Linda. Now Linda's job, her business, is about advising businesses how to get through that paperwork maze and to get yourself ready. And she warned on your program, get yourself ready. It's tight on time, but it's possible. Get some help in. And she wasn't advancing her own business. You know, she was just giving some genuine advice to businesses. Get some help in. One, there's money to help for that help, so don't worry about paying for it. And two, there are people that can help you. And so if you haven't done that, then you are partly to blame. You see, the wonderful thing about running your own business, as I said earlier on, you can set the tone for your own business. But the wonderful thing is that you have to make decisions. Back to my 6 strategies, you've got to make decisions in management. And you've got to make the right decisions. We don't always make the right decisions. I've never made all the right decisions all the time. Of course not. No, nobody does. But you know, Steve, there was plenty of government advertising. There was, as you say, plenty of money available, and there was help that companies could have gone in. If they haven't done that, then it's ridiculous. But nevertheless, it doesn't negate the fact that something, again, you said earlier on in this program, that we have politicians that are playing politics with people's lives, and it's always the little people that pay for this. So
it's always going to be us, isn't it? We're the ones. It will be the small businesses that will pay. Will take the brunt of the bill. Listen, we're nearly out of time. I'm just going to go to your website one more time. Great website, by the way, if you want to get some good information on what you should be doing within your business. I mean, just define what you do at the moment, Antonio, because for many years you were the sales director. That's what you called yourself. Your idea was that you would go in and you would talk to businesses and you would sort out what their sales teams, and you would put the targets in because from your experience, you knew how to drive a sales team and to motivate them and to give them targets. But you've really changed a little bit in the way that you approach that now. Just define what you do right now, so that if someone's watching this at the moment and they're saying to themselves, "I need some help," and he looks like he could be the guy that could help me. Just define what you do.
Well, a lot of what I do, Steve, is still sales orientated, because it's the key element of any business. You know, however you're operating behind the scenes and whatever service or product you are trying to get out to a defined customer, at the end of the day, it still requires sales. So I'm still doing an awful lot of that. But what I found myself over the years, and actually this is where I started, is that you come across a variety of different business problems that companies are just trying to get their head around how on earth to solve it. And so I end up acting as an extra voice, an extra aid to try and figure out how to deal with day-to-day problems that happen in a business. So I have a number of clients who I see on a regular basis that are looking for me for one, some help and direction on how their business needs to move forward. They're also looking for a sounding board. They want to run ideas and thoughts by somebody who has got a plethora of experience over the past 20 years. I work with hundreds of companies, and want to understand if their thinking is straight, if they've got their strategy right, if they've got their plan right, and they just want somebody to bounce off and just to make sure that they're doing what they think is the right thing. So a bulk of what I do is still sales and business and business development, but I've just got involved in a variety of different aspects of the day-to-day runnings of a business. So I'm just a trusted sounding board.
That's what it says in your label, trusted business advisor. We like that.
That's what people tell me.
Good. Final question then, where are you going to go on your holiday? What's the first place you want to go to when lockdown is lifted? Are you going to have a break? Did you have a break last year, by the way?
No, I didn't. So last summer, in August, my wife and children went on holiday. They went to see my in-laws, who are French. They live in France. So they went. But I felt that the 3-month lockdown, of which I didn't put myself on furlough, I just tried to get through it, meant that I'd already lost 3 months. I mean, I didn't feel it was the right thing to do to go away on holiday. And so I didn't go. So I haven't been away for quite since summer of 2019. So where am I going? I don't care anywhere. I don't care anymore. Just anywhere.
Just anywhere. Anywhere but these four walls.
Probably go to France. Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because we were saying just before we started, of course, that it's always interesting what people have on their shelves behind them.
I've been
and there we've got a fine selection of whiskey bottles.
Yes, yeah.
which I think is always very interesting. So, but that's great. Listen, it's been lovely talking to you and having a bit of a chinwag. A bit of a different program, really, just a bit of a warm up for the year to get us rocking and rolling again. Going to have one of your favourites on next week. We've got Angus Grady, who's going to be talking LinkedIn next week. LinkedIn is a funny thing. I just wonder, the people that are making the money on LinkedIn, are they the people that are telling us how to make money on LinkedIn? Are they the ones making money? I'll ask him that next week. But I know he does off a lot of people. Is it a wasted opportunity, do you think, that a lot of people are on it but don't do anything with it?
I think Angus will probably tell you that's the case. I mean, it's the only platform I use because it's the only one I consider to be business platform. So therefore, that's why I'm on it. I don't tend to deal with the other ones. In fact, I've deleted most of the other ones. But probably is the answer. But I think what you need to do is, and somebody gave me some very good advice, a guy called Spencer Gallagher, who's a very successful business guy, has done fantastically well. And he said, look, I try and post something, every day, something just a thought provoking or an idea, some sort of helpful hint. So that's I think the way to use it. You use it to try and help other people, and don't try and always attempt to promote it yourself, promote your own business. That's people. I don't want to hear that. You and I have talked about LinkedIn now, how it's becoming a pseudo Facebook, and I'm not liking it like you aren't liking it. So do you know what? Let's go back to having it as a business platform that's primarily there. Yes, you're going to promote your own business, but I think you do that by trying to help people. And boy, have people needed help more than ever. So just you use it for that, but it's a business platform that I use. So yeah,
I can feel that you're run out of opinion at that point. Listen, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. It's been lovely having a chat. It's been lovely doing a show again. So really enjoyed it. Thank you very much indeed. your immediate plans for the next 30 days, if you were telling one of your business owners what they should be doing the next 30 days, you need to be doing this, what would it be?
Get your ducks lined up. Make sure that you are on top of your current customer base and you know what they're about. So if you haven't had a chance to talk to them or see them or Zoom them for a while, get that back on track. Understand where they are as a business, how they see their business moving in the next 12 months, certainly this year. Find out what opportunities there are for you. Just be open and plain about it and just ask simple, straight questions. How do you see your business moving? Where can we help you? What products or services do you think we've got for you that are going to help you? Let's discuss how we can put that together. Done. Second, look at your next set of new potential customers. Who are they? Where are they based? What do they look like? Once you understand a bit of that and don't get too clever about it, don't overanalyze it, then start to get some information out to them. Start to contact them with an email, with a phone call. Give them a phone call saying you're going to email them something. Look them up on LinkedIn, touch base with them there, and just start to very slowly make some connections and build a relationship in these third-party ways that we currently have to us, ready to have a serious business conversation with them and say to them, that's your objective, is to at some point sit down with them, hopefully face-to-face, but if not on Zoom, and talk business with them. And I think a lot of businesses might be ready for that because they themselves are probably doing the same, looking for their next set of customers. So, quite understandably, they'll probably be expecting a potential new supplier to ring them. And I never understand companies that don't like the fact that, potential suppliers are ringing them, trying to sell them their goods and wares. That's what you're trying to do. So, treat them with the same respect. Buying and selling have the same equal value. Okay, I need a customer, and they need my service. We're equal. Business is a partnership. We both need each other.
Brilliant. I mean, fantastic advice as well, and I hope everybody brings it on board. Antonio, have a lovely time, and thank you very much for your hour today of your time, an hour that you will never ever get back. But thank you very much for being with us on the show today. It's been fantastic speaking to you. And as I said,
to invite you to my home office to try a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, the whole office now is looking. Just need a little bit of light behind you, but we did talk about that before.
Oh, hang on, Stephen. Hang on.
He's going to tell me now.
There you go. How about that?
Now, why didn't you do that earlier on?
I completely forgot. There you go. We live and learn. Even I don't get everything right, but there you go. We live and learn, Steve. There you go.
Fantastic. You take care. Thank you very much indeed. My guest on today's show, Antonio Falco, fantastic program. Hope you found it interesting and useful. It kind of went everywhere there, didn't it? We were talking about all different aspects of what's going on within business and the kind of things that you should be doing to get ready to get out of the lockdown just around the corner. If you want to get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, that's easy to do. All you got to do is pick up the phone or better still, drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You can give us a call. The lines have been open all the way through lockdown. We never closed, really. We're always here on 01784 256 777. Don't forget as well, you can also follow our stream of consciousness. It'll also remind you about some of the old programs as well, our previous shows, BCL Business TV. But don't forget, you can always go to the website at businessconnectionslive.com. Once again, my thanks to the fabulous Antonio Falco. The audience go wild till we talk again. And next week, where my guest is going to be Angus Grady. Have a great week. Stay safe out there and good luck. Hope you get your vaccine by then. And if you don't worry. It is just around the corner. Have a safe week. Be safe. Till next time. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel.